Hey guys, welcome back to the Previa Alliance podcast. Happy 2024.
Holy cow, it's 2024.
It's Sarah
and Whitney.
We're here. New
Hi.
Year. Sing
Happy New
us.
Year.
But you guys are probably feeling a little bit like we are, like, whew, okay.
Kind of it's almost like the holiday letdown, but also we're gearing up for a new year.
Yeah, so
it's a weird combination of feelings.
No one really knows. Should we be eating a zillion things?
We're in limbo.
Should we be like sewing our sweats? Should we be like trying to take on the world?
Like, are the Christmas decorations up or down?
Yeah, and that's a very strong like divide people have. People feel very certain, like,
I'm sure people would not appreciate my take.
Some come down. I'm more of like, I got to get it down.
That's me. I like to get it down and get my house kind of organized and clean so I can think a little more clearly.
Some people, they are like hard set. No, it doesn't come down till January 3rd, 4th, whatever. Some people are like, I keep stuff up to Valentine's Day. I'm like, okay, whatever works for you.
I have a client, bless their heart, they broke their ankle and their tree ended up staying up all year because they just never could get it down.
Well, you know what?
They took the ornaments off.
At that point, you just call it for what it is.
And I told them, I said, you know what? You just get you some different seasonal things and it's just going to be greenery in your house. We're calling it greenery.
You know,
that's a reframe.
That would be something that would happen to me that would just really, that would be the thing that I was like, I'd be calling you, Whitney, come.
Yeah.
And take this tree down.
Yeah, calling the reinforcements.
I would
get the tree down.
And you wouldn't think twice. You'd be like, I know that really bothers her.
I'd be like, okay, what's your address? Am I going by Chick-fil-A on my way in? What
tell me what we need because she's going to lose her mind.
Yep.
But we are going to talk about why, we said it before, but it's always a good reminder. We don't do resolutions.
We don't. Mm-mm.
And I know you're going to be hearing it everywhere you turn.
It's kind of shoved down our throats.
This is new year, new you, set your intentions, set your goals. We love all that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But let's break this down, okay? 80% of people abandon their resolutions by February, okay?
So yeah, that doesn't last long, friends.
Less than 10% succeed, okay? And actually somebody said only maybe 8%. That's not to say that you're not going to succeed. That's not saying that you're not going to be that. But
let's set ourselves up for success over failure. Right.
Because what happens here is people tend to shoot for the moon and stars, right? Because we all can do that when the effort's not involved, right? It's like, hey, Whitney, I'm going to start running like you and I'm going to join you. Yeah. When I texted her and Jenny the other day and said, y'all, I ran 800 meters and I kept thinking the whole entire time. No, I thought, how did these two... And I thought, what is wrong with them? Like, that's literally the thoughts that was coming in my mind, was you and Jenny being like, signing up for marathon. So me setting a resolution that Sarah's going to be running with Jenny and Whitney, just ain't in the car.
And that's okay because I can't do weights.
So that's, it's okay, and I love a good HIIT strength, CrossFit workout. So, speaking of this, the most commonly abandoned resolutions, Whitney, you probably see this with your clients, is health, fitness, weight loss, exercise, right? This is all research-based, so we're not saying anything that you guys probably don't know by your own lives. But why does it not work out? Oh, I am not, lack of motivation, willpower, right? And some said they just set unrealistic goals. So
I would agree with that. The unrealistic goals, I would say I don't love the idea of saying that you don't have motivation or willpower because that's negative.
Right.
But if I say that I am going to run a marathon this year, which I have never ran a marathon, don't really have a desire to. I've done a couple of halves and halves are hard.
Right.
But if I tell myself, okay, I'm going to run a marathon and I'm going to qualify for Boston, which y'all just Google what it takes to qualify for Boston.
And we lived outside of Boston, so that was a huge thing. So people
it's a big deal.
It's a huge ordeal.
It's a big deal. So for Whitney to come in, who has never ran a marathon, who really doesn't have the desire to run a marathon, and I also maintain a 10.5-minute pace, which is not that fast compared to like professional runners.
Still,
Whitney ain't qualifying for Boston. That don't need to be my resolution.
And well, now that we really, because I love finding out more details about resolutions, right? And it's saying that the younger individuals tend to have a slightly higher successful rate.
They may not have children.
That's what I was going to say. This, I would love.
They have more flexibility in their schedule.
I always say this all the time. So Previa Alliance is a startup company. People's like, well, what's a startup company? That's essentially where you started up from yourself, idea on
from the scratch,
and you build it. and you are out there learning. I mean, I always tell people it's like the best master's degree I've ever received in my life is the School of Hard Knocks.
Yep.
But I'm out there a lot of times fighting against others, not fighting against, it shouldn't be the right word, but in the same realm of startups, founders who are young single men. Nothing against them. They're not trying to solve maternal mental health like I am, but they have no idea of like, well, what do you mean you woke up 3 times because your kids got up and like this morning, you know, they don't comprehend.
How do they know?
They don't comprehend, right? Like they don't comprehend the extra that's added on to moms of the mental load. I mean, we're not honestly probably all getting good night's sleeps consistently. And the lack of like the village that we're supposed to have that we don't have to give us that support to often sticking to resolutions. And behavioral changes take time. Most research suggests it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit and stick with it. And so we all know our lovely children are unpredictable.
Very.
And just when we think we have a good hold on life, they're going to rip that carpet from us.
Cold flu, RSV, strep.
A broke bone, you know.
All the things.
Work throws something at you.
Or it's a teacher work day at school and now you gotta be momming because you are the child care now when they're in public school.
You are. There is that is a whole level of another brokenness of our system for moms. But let's talk about specifically, so we were pretty general there. Let's talk about how the landscape of priorities, again, with these resolutions come in with moms, right? We're kind of touching on it, but motherhood's very unpredictable. From postpartum to pregnancy, even pregnancy, right? My pregnancy was very unpredictable of going on bed rest, of not being able to lift anything, to now I'm supposed to be pregnant to 40 weeks. I had at 34 weeks. You know, it is so unpredictable. So your best laid plans, goals, resolutions, when you are literally pregnant or postpartum in motherhood, you're fighting against something that's essentially never going to be stable. So just calling that for what it is. And now you're very responsible for someone else's full needs. 24/7, you're keeping this little thing alive. So again, this is not saying, hey guys, you're not going to be able to keep resolutions. That's not saying that. We're going to get to what we're saying. But it's self-care versus unrealistic expectations where you set yourself up for failure. You already know, hey, I'm doing good to get by some days. Maybe it's not running for 30 minutes a day. Maybe it's you run, you know, twice a week. So that's a better realistic expectation.
It's more doable.
Me, I'm like, I feel sometimes like I need to be more zenner and calmer, trying to ground myself. So I downloaded this pause app. And you can do 1 minute to 10 minutes. If I have a great day and I set my time aside, I can do that 10. But if I do that 1 minute, I still count that as a success.
That's a win. A win is a win.
So that is what we're talking about is like, don't put yourself in this tiny little box where it's only X, Y, and Z.
Try not to be rigid.
Oh, and I have a hard time with that.
Same.
So we have to give ourselves grace. So we're talking to ourselves too. But you know, we've said this so many times before. We have so much coming at us that's trying to make us feel like we're not a good mom. We're not good enough. So don't put anything extra on you that's going to be like, I failed at that too.
Because that's just going to lead to guilt and shame.
And isolation. And you're like, the one thing I tried to do for myself, I couldn't do. And then be cautious when we're doing these resolutions. Okay. You grew a child. You grew a human. Okay? Your body's changed. So you're going to get inundated with all these ads. Go to the gym. That bounce back.
All of these supplements. These detox teas and drinks.
They're going to come for the mom and the postpartum body of this toxic culture where they're selling, or again, we go back to, let's break it down. It's a business. They're selling a certain thing. We want you to be healthy. We want you to have physical and mental health strength, but we don't want you to do that in a way that's a fad or unhealthy for you and be shamed into it. Because we never change if somebody's shaming us to do something like that.
Well, and it's, even if we do change, it's not always received as a positive thing.
Right?
You know, we have to change for ourselves.
Right. I have to decide.
Not for someone else's
And I
approval.
think that's a big thing too, right? If you're like, okay, well, I'm good, but I want so-and-so to have a resolution. I want my husband to have a resolution.
Right.
If they don't do it for themselves.
Right. It's not going to mean as much.
It's not going to mean as much. They're not going to take ownership in it.
Right.
And you know what? When it ultimately goes wrong, they blame you for it.
Yep.
Because I never wanted to do it in the first place.
It'll come back and bite you.
And you guys don't even have to, you don't have to say this. But again, social media, the comparison thief of joy, it is going to be coming at you of making you feel like you're behind if you're not on your 30 days of fat loss.
Right. That was a big one after my first daughter was born.
And because then because I think it's like the loss of identity that happens in motherhood, right? Already. And you're like, who am I? Who's my body? What am I doing? So you sometimes grasp for something to say, well, if I can physically get back to X, if I can fit into my jeans.
Right. Or if I can get to this number on the scale.
Right. Like then I'm good. But
then I've accomplished this.
Right. Like I'm going to be okay when I know I sometimes do this where I will look on the outside appearance of myself versus the inside. Mm-hmm. I would rather do the outside work versus the inside.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And
sometimes it seems easier.
Painful sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what can they do? So let's go and say, okay, what are we going to do?
So I would say start out with realistic goals. Try to celebrate non-scale victories.
Right.
So when I say that, it could be that you do get your exercise in 2 days a week.
Right.
For me, which has been a year's process, is okay, I'm going to build myself up to running this distance.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
That's a non-scale victory.
Right.
I still have 10 pounds that I haven't lost from my second daughter, and she's 3 years old.
Yeah.
But you know what? I can run further now than I could before she was born.
Totally.
So I'm a stronger runner.
So that is
running has benefited my mental health.
100%. I was going to say we work out.
Yeah.
For our mental health.
Correct. Yep.
So we don't do it for the way our jeans fit. Now that's a nice compliment.
I mean, yeah, sure.
We don't mind that.
Right.
But we do it because we both are better moms, friends, wives. Everything.
And I want to be able to keep up with my kids. I want to be able to play tag with them in the backyard.
I see grandparents now, and I'm fortunate my parents are super active, and I want to be them because then I see others that simply cannot. And I'm like, I don't. So that's my goal. It's not like you said, it's not like limited size X Sarah jeans needs to fit in.
Right.
It is a long term. I'm going to constantly work at this.
Right.
Something that means something to me. I'm setting my intentions with being flexible that, hey, okay, baby James was up 5 times last night because he's sick.
Yeah.
Sarah didn't get to work out today. Okay. That's okay. I'm still on my long-term goal of where I want to be.
Exactly. Well, and life is unpredictable. Life has a way of lifing.
Sometimes it just like tornado lives us.
Yeah. Hurricane, tornado, earthquake, all of the things happen at one time because why wouldn't it?
Why not?
Yeah, because that's life.
That's us.
So allowing yourself to be flexible, giving yourself grace and saying, you know what? My kid was sick. I was up all night last night. I don't have the energy to work out.
Right.
But if I can put them in the stroller and go for a walk, great.
A win is a win.
Otherwise, I'm just going to focus on taking care of myself and meeting my needs for today, which means taking a shower.
Yes.
Brushing my teeth, brushing my hair, eating, and making sure my kid is okay.
And it's a season of life too. So when you're looking at this, what you can do when your kids are babies and toddlers is way different than what you're going to look at when your kids are in middle school.
Oh, absolutely.
So if we're again going back to these resolutions, you're like, well, I want one concept that I like stick to and check off. Okay. So then you be realistic with yourself. Is that 1 minute a day you can give? That is fantastic.
Right.
No one says that you can't build that up.
Exactly.
But you do not need anything extra that's going to make it harder on yourself.
No, don't add to your plate.
Do positive influences. Sometimes it could be, mental health is my priority. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to listen to this podcast, or I'm going to go to a toolbox tip episode. I'm going to implement one tool that Whitney teaches me a week for a month. And I'm going to practice, or I'm going to practice mindfulness.
Right.
I'm going to pause. I'm going to be open about my mental health. I'm going to find my
Right.
huddle person. We've talked about
Yep.
this before. And I'm going to share and say, I'm struggling with postpartum anxiety, Whitney.
Right.
I've had these thoughts.
Right.
I'm going to go to therapy.
Good.
Whatever, like you don't have to be tied to whatever anybody
Nope.
says, and your long-term improvement of what you want
Exactly.
is what we want you to do.
Right.
That is what we're saying. So don't set a resolution, but say, don't point out your flaws. I love when you always say this. Don't make my negative stand out.
Right.
Let's turn it to a positive.
Right. Let's reframe.
I love to reframe now that you've taught me that. I needed that in my life. But
Reframing is really strong.
And I think, again, just embrace the change. Mm-hmm. This is a changing versus rigid. We are flexible versus set. We are, we're going to bend, but we're hopefully not going to break here. Right. And I think that's something that you have to come into motherhood and know. You're going to bend a lot. There's a lot of pressure. Yeah. So what it looks like pre-baby is not what it's going to look like. Nope. And we're not ever going back.
That's okay.
And just remember, too, you're dealing, like we said earlier in the episode, post-holidays are super hard. Yes. You are drained, okay? There's
a lot going on. We're overstimulated. We're exhausted mentally, emotionally, physically, all of the above. It is a lot.
You have been basically the main caregiver for the past, I don't know, since probably starts before Halloween, right? But the extra, right? The planning, the cooking, the holiday activities. I mean, you've had 18,000 school parties. You've had to deal with family that you often don't. There's been
the
boundaries,
gift giving and buying,
financial, physical, emotional investments. You have been tapped out. So you're ready. If you think about it, most people that I know in my life, us included, do not come out of the holiday seasons refreshed and ready to roll.
Oh no.
We have to recharge.
Yeah, I'm already having to think about Christmas gifts because we're changing how we do Christmas. So we're going to be at my parents' house. So guess what? I'm Amazoning toys from Santa to my parents' house so that we can have Santa there when we wake up Christmas morning.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Thinking
it continuously goes ahead. Always. Shift and focus. Let's just you have been through a lot with the holidays. So we're saying
heavy.
Too, you've already probably have lack of self-care. So I think you come into it, you've had comparison and guilt on you. You probably felt lonely and isolated. Let's be real. Because the holidays are hard for people. Right. So you've had all this extra on you. And then society goes, Whitney, set your resolutions and you better stick to them. That's unrealistic.
Because, you ate so terrible these past few months.
Well, guess what? Y'all threw every bundt cake at us that there was known to mankind.
It all started when you let the Halloween Oreos and pumpkin Reese's in the stores.
That you put in the stores in September.
Well, I mean, I do partake. I'm not going to lie.
We all do. But that's the thing. That's why if anybody grasps any concept from today, it's just hear what we say. You're not set up against something to have you win.
Right.
This is, again, a marketing business that is creating.
This is all strategy with businesses.
And then here you come. They're throwing at you the holidays. Let's be festive. Let's eat. You give everything. You decorate the best. We're throwing in comparison and guilt to make you buy more. Your kids are off schedule. Okay, hello, that's over. No one gives you a break, right? And then you're resuming your daily demands. You're empty a little bit from your tank. And then now it's set these goals, Whitney. Be better. Lose that weight.
Do better.
You better be more mindful. Okay, let's take that pressure off. Let's just be for a second. Let's refill and let's look long-term what we want. Right. And again, why are we letting society dictate who we are as moms, our goals, and our resolutions?
Well, because social media and just pours it on like an avalanche.
Totally. I think, again,
we don't feel like we can get away from it.
We don't. And we have to start our self-identity, right? So much of us, which we grew up into this, and society's telling us that our self-identity is tied to what we do for our families, like our birthday episode. It's tied to who we are is what we give and what we create, when we have to acknowledge that is not the truth, right? What is your self-identity? What is Whitney? What makes her mom?
And however you set a resolution, however you do the holidays, whatever you did for your kids for the holidays, realize, number one, that's enough.
Totally.
It is enough. And it's not a character flaw if yours doesn't look like somebody else's.
And it's not going to. And that's part of the thing is we've shared before in different episodes that I had to realize with the monogram t-shirt Valentine's thing that I'm still triggered about 5 years later.
I was about to say that still hits you.
But I now can look at it and go, good for her.
Right.
But I couldn't for a while.
Right.
So if you are like Sarah 5 years ago, where it's still like, well, should I have done better? Could I have done more? Dig a little deeper.
Right. And also, here's my kind of flip on New Year's resolutions that I kind of started thinking about a few years ago. Instead of feeling like I have to exercise more to lose weight, or that I need to take this out of my life to be a better person or to do whatever, try to add positives in your life. So you're adding exercise in for your physical and mental health.
Right.
Not to lose weight, because lose is a negative word.
Let's
We
be
are
positive.
taking away. Exactly. Whether you're adding in music that really builds you up, whether you're listening to a podcast that builds you up, whether that means that you're adding in a friend to get together every couple of months.
Right.
Find things to add into your life.
Right.
That pour into you.
Right.
That actually give something to your life, as opposed to, well, I have to lose weight. Now I have to take this
like a
food.
punishment,
Exactly. Why are we starting the new year with a punishment?
Oh.
See, we need to add positive.
We're doing therapy here.
Right.
We're serving the people with your therapy
I'm
here.
saying.
Here she comes.
That's
She comes
right.
out
no
with this.
copay this time.
She gives you a free therapy session.
That's right. Happy New Year, my friends.
So true. I love that, though. So when you're looking at this, I want you to just think of Whitney. Hear what she just said. If you need to replay this episode, turn it back on. Add something to your life this year.
Play it again in June when life gets hard again.
You're going to need to hear it.
You know what I mean? Like,
we'll say it again in June.
That's right.
We'll do a mid-year resolution re-talk.
We should.
I think we should.
I like it.
Because we know statistically we're going to need it.
Right.
But we're going to add this year. So this is what we're telling you. Don't buy in to the peer pressure, the social media pressure. Look and say, what do I want to add? Right. What would make Sarah's life better? What would make Whitney's life better? And what is something that I am not
a book that's encouraging?
Oh my gosh, a small I'm going to talk to one of my friends, once a month.
Right. Okay. Make it realistic.
Totally.
People.
If we talk more, that's fantastic. Right. But let's be real.
Let's do one positive.
That's great.
One thing.
Let's be flexible versus rigid. And let's realize we're only going to be accountable to ourselves, not what society tells us we should be.
Correct.
Okay, guys, we are going to be with you this year. We have so many awesome episodes planned. What we would love for you to do is to, share us, to talk about this with your friends. Write us a review. Follow us on Instagram. You
don't have to be brand new postpartum to follow us.
No. Share this with anybody in your life that is trying, currently is pregnant, postpartum, any stage of motherhood.
Right.
Right? Or if you need to, we're going to touch on a lot of great topics this year, but if you're like, they just need to hear that.
Right.
Then send it. That is where we're here. But always, if you've got some Hey Whitney questions, we're always
send them in.
Send them in. We're ready for that. Or if there's a topic that you want to talk about, you want to come on and talk about, shoot us a DM.
Right. We can do this.
We got this. All right, guys, we're here with you. We're going to conquer this year together. And we are so thankful for you. So happy New Year from us. And we look forward to tackling the year with you. Maternal mental health is as important as physical health. The Previa Alliance podcast was created for and by moms dealing with postpartum depression and all its variables like anxiety, anger, and even apathy. Hosted by CEO, founder Sarah Parkhurst and licensed clinical social worker Whitney Gay, each episode focuses on specific issues relevant to pregnancy and postpartum. Join us and hear how other moms have overcome mental health challenges as well as access tips and suggestions on dealing with your own challenges as moms. You can also browse our podcast library and listen to previous episodes at any time. Please know you're not alone on this journey. We're here to help.